Hello everyone. In previous modules, we have studied about the communication systems which are conventional in nature. In this module, we'll start with an unconventional communication system or the techniques called as spread spectrum communication systems. In the design of digital communication system over AWGN channel, the major objective has been the efficient utilization of transmitter power and channel bandwidth. So there we have seen that probability of error we tried to minimize by somehow increasing the transmitted power. If you increase the transmitted power, what happens? It is a burden on you, or the efficient utilization will not be happening. Okay. Similar is if you go on increasing the channel bandwidth, that is also not favorable in terms of AWGN channel. But the channel coding allows us to reduce the transmitter power by increasing the transmitted signal bandwidth, not channel bandwidth. You need to remember that by increasing the transmitted signal bandwidth through code redundancy. So here you have to increase the transmitted signal bandwidth, which is not an easy task. Again, in another technique, this is one technique. In another technique, the multiple access communication. Multiplexing is similar to multiple access. The difference we can discuss later, but in this particular technique, what happens is when two or more transmitters use the same common channel to transmit information, the interference created by the users of the channels limits the performance achieved by the system. So interference, you might have heard when communicating through mobile phone, some other person's voice you hear, that is interference, correct? So in multiple access this happens when one user is using mobile phone and talking over some other person, some other user also transmitting in that particular channel, means that will interfere with your signal, and this degrades the performance of the system. And even in this complex design problem of multiple access technique, the basic system design parameters are transmitter power and channel bandwidth. So here also transmitter power and channel bandwidth are very important, whether it might be AWGN channel or it might be multiple access technique where we are using different users, or where we can see two or more transmitters use the same common channel. So how to overcome this? This is to overcome these problems, whether they are intentional or unintentional interference, we may further increase the bandwidth of transmitted signal, so that bandwidth expansion factor given by BE is equal to W by R is much greater than unity. This is one of the characteristic of spread spectrum. So to overcome the complex design problems associated with transmitter power and channel bandwidth, because channel bandwidth given for us will be limited, in that only we have to confine our transmitted signal, uh, the signal to be transmitted. Okay, so we are going to spread spectrum, whose one characteristic is to have a expanded bandwidth. What is the second characteristic? The second important characteristic is that the information signal at the modulator is spread in bandwidth by means of a code that is independent of the information sequence. Given is some bit stream, your digital information is having some bit stream, that information is, you can say, multiplied by a code which is independent of the information sequence, and thereby spreading the bandwidth of the information. How it happens? Because the code which is used to spread this information sequence is having higher bandwidth or very large bandwidth, and thereby we can achieve this. So what happens with this is, this code whatever we are using, it is a high frequency code, digital code, that is zeros and ones. Its frequency is much higher than the information sequence, and thereby it looks like as if it is a random signal or noise signal to unintended users. Because of this property, only an intended user who knows what code is being multiplied at the receiver, he can demodulate the signal. So this is a more secure way of communication. First is, the bandwidth of the signal to be transmitted is expanded. The second is more secure way of communication. These are the two characteristics of spread spectrum modulation. It is the second characteristic property that distinguishes spread spectrum communication system from the conventional communication systems that we have studied till date, where the signal bandwidth is increased or expanded by means of channel code redundancy. Earlier, channel code redundancy used to expand the signal bandwidth, but here the spread spectrum techniques are used to increase the bandwidth, as well as more secure communication is possible. Now, what is this spread spectrum technique? Spread spectrum techniques are the methods by which signal, whether it is an electrical, electromagnetic or acoustic signal generated with particular bandwidth, deliberately spread in the frequency domain, resulting in a signal with a wider bandwidth. Let me explain this with the example. Say your bit stream is having 1 kilobits per second, okay, which is 1 kilobits of information you are transmitting in 1 second. Now you multiply this bit stream, that is zeros and ones sequence, with a 1 megabits per second bit stream, or XOR with this signal. If you XOR that signal with a higher bit stream signal, what will happen? The resultant signal will be of higher bit stream, correct? And now what we have done, we have actually transmitted the information sequence from a lower bit rate signal into a higher bit rate signal. So the bandwidth of the signal which we wanted to transmit itself has been increased a lot, correct? And this signal is now modulated. This signal, after ignoring with the high frequency sequence, we are going to modulate with either it might be BPSK or QPSK or any other digital modulation technique which we have studied. Okay, thereby what we are seeing, we are increasing the bandwidth of the signal itself and then modulating. Okay, this spread spectrum signals for digital communications were originally developed for military applications or military communications, so as to provide resistance to jamming or to hide the signal by transmitting it at lower power, and thus making it too difficult for an unintended listener to detect its presence in noise. That is, for securing the data, military communications has used this. If bandwidth is increased, the power need to be transmitted will be very small, and thereby what happens is, the unintended user who is interferer, he will not be able to recover. That is, the receiver will not be able to recover, because he will not be having the code which has been used at the transmitter end. Only the one who has the similar code used at the transmitter end can recover back the signal at the receiver. Okay, that's why it was used in the military communications earlier. Now it is used in reliable communications in variety of civilian applications, including digital cellular and inter-office communications. The next topic in this introduction is model of a spread spectrum digital communication system. You can see the block diagram where input sequence is applied to a channel encoder which is there in your conventional modulation also. Next, the signal is modulated over here, where you can see the channel encoded signal is applied to modulator along with pseudo random pattern generator. There is a pseudo random pattern of bit sequences generated, and that is going to spread the signal, and after that it is being modulated in the modulator. Two operations will take place here: spreading and modulation. Both together happens here in the modulator, unless it was only earlier it was only modulating by multiplying some carrier signal we used to modulate the signal, but here we are applying a pseudo random pattern generator signal which is having a high frequency, or the bandwidth of the signal is very high, and thereby spreading of the information bit sequence happens, and then it is modulated using BPSK, QPSK or any other modulation technique, and then transmitted over the channel. At the demodulator, you can see the pseudo random pattern generator used at the transmitter with same parameter or characteristics should be used at the receiver. So here the same sequence is used to demodulate the signal. Okay, our de-spreading will occur. After that, demodulation will occur in this block, and the demodulated signal is applied to channel decoder. It decodes the signal by removing the redundancy which is added at the encoders, and output data will be your information sequence. And again, this pseudo random pattern generator, the signal looks like as if noise because its frequency is very high and power is very less. Okay, it looks noise for unauthorized users. For authorized users, since he is having the pattern which is need to be multiplied at the demodulator or the receiver, he do not consider it as a noise but as an information bearing signal. I hope you understood this spread spectrum model. Again, in the channel there might be some interference added. Okay, and this interference may be generally categorized being broadband or narrowband relative to the bandwidth of the information bearing signal, and either it might be continuous in time or pulsed in time or discontinuous in time. So the here also interference occurs, but this is completely different from the interference appeared in earlier systems. It can be categorized into broadband interference or narrowband interference, and the information bearing signal might be either continuously interfering or discontinuously interfering in time. Our discussion will focus on the performance of spread spectrum signals for digital communication in the presence of narrowband as well as broadband interference. And two types of digital modulation techniques considered in spread spectrum are namely PSK and FSK techniques. The two types of actually spread spectrum techniques we note are: one is the direct sequence spread spectrum, another one is frequency hopping spread spectrum. Direct sequence sequence spread spectrum uses PSK modulation scheme, and frequency hopping spread spectrum techniques uses FSK modulation scheme, along with the random noise like our pseudo code generated before the modulation. So let us now know about the generation of PN sequences. PN sequence means pseudo noise sequence. So the contents in this particular part are pseudo noise sequence generation, general M stage shift register with linear feedback, shift register connections for generating maximum length sequences. ML means maximum length sequences, maximum length code generation, properties of maximum length sequences. Let us study one by one. So what is pseudo noise sequence? Pseudo random or pseudo noise sequence is a code sequence of ones and zeros whose autocorrelation has the properties similar to those of white noise. So here it is a sequence of bits, that is ones and zeros, and they have the autocorrelation properties similar to the white noise. That means in all the frequency band, white noise will be there. If you consider white noise, it is having Gaussian distribution, correct? So, and it has the autocorrelation properties. Those properties are similar as the pseudo noise sequence. And the most widely known binary PN sequences are the maximum length shift register sequences. In this, uh, we'll learn how to generate a general M stage shift register with linear feedback is used to generate the PN sequences of maximum length. So here you can see the block diagram. These are the shift registers 1, 2, 3, 4 up to M. So the stages are M, that's why it is M stage shift register. And there is a linear feedback. You can see some particular stages are added over here. Okay, they are added, and feedback out, the output of this one is fed back into the tail. Okay, and then output is taken over here. So a maximum length shift register sequence, or M sequence for short, has a length of L which is equal to 2 to the power M minus 1 bits. That is, here the length is L having 2 to the power M minus 1 bits, and is generated by an M shift register with linear feedback as illustrated in the figure. The sequence is periodic with period L. So the sequence generated here will be periodic. Say 1011. Next again 1011. So the period is 4 here, correct? Period will be 4. Or you can say 0, 1, 2, 3. The period will be 3. After that the sequence will keep on repeating. If you say M is 6, what will happen? 2 to the power 6 minus 1 bits will be the length of the sequence, and after that it will repeat. The sequence will repeat. Each period has a sequence of 2 to the power M minus 1 ones and 2 to the power M minus 1 minus 1 zeros. That is what we are going to have in the pseudo random sequence or maximum length sequence generated with this particular M stage shift register. Okay, and The next topic is shift register connections for generating ML sequences. This table summarizes uh, which M stages need to be connected so as to generate ML sequences. So given are, if say M is 2, that is there are two stages in the shift registers, then the stages need to be connected are 1 and 2. If you have M is equal to 3, stages need to be connected to modulo 2 adder are 1 and 3. Similarly, if we have M is equal to 4, there are 4 stages, out of which stage 1 and stage 4 needs to be connected. Similarly, for M is equal to 5, stage 1 and 4 need to be connected. For M is equal to 6, 1 and 6 needs to be connected. Likewise, you can say there are 34 different ML sequence generators we can name, and you can see 34th generator will have states connected are 1, 8, 33 and 34. They are all connected, and the resultant will be given to the shift register stages as a feedback. Okay, this is how different M stage shift registers can be used to generate different maximum length sequences. Okay, this is an example that we can see later. Now let us understand the properties of maximum length sequences. The first property is balance property. It states that in each period of a maximum length sequence, the number of ones is always one more than the number of zeros. That is given by the basic equation which is mentioned over here. You can see 2 to the power m minus 1 ones and 2 to the power m minus 1 minus 1 zeros. That is, number of ones is always greater than number of zeros in the sequence. Second one is run property. Among the runs of ones and zeros in each period of a maximum length sequence, one half the runs of each kind are of length 1, one fourth are of length 2, 1/8 are of length 3, and so on, as long as these fractions represent meaningful numbers of runs. The total number of runs is n plus 1 by 2. This is the second property. We'll understand this in detail when we go with the example. Now the third one is correlation property. The autocorrelation function of a maximum length sequence is periodic and binary valued. Usually the correlation of a sequence is given by this equation, where correlation R with M stages is equal to summation n is equal to 1 to L Cn plus M. M varies from 0 to L minus 1. When M is equal to 0, the correlation whatever we compute will be autocorrelation. For an maximum length sequence generated, as we know, it is a pseudo noise sequence, and we have already stated that pseudo noise sequence is the one which has autocorrelation properties same as the white noise. That is, it is having the properties given by this equation, where the autocorrelation function will be having a value of L when M is equal to 0. When M varies from 1 to L minus 1, the autocorrelation function will be minus 1. So these are the properties of pseudo noise or pseudo random sequences generated using maximum length sequence of M shift registers. Okay, I hope you have understood the topics which we have discussed today. In the next lecture, we'll start with the examples of these maximum length sequences and verify their properties. Thanks for watching.